Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the laws of consciousness. Now, in the previous video, we had talked about the laws of the universe. That is, we had tried to understand the things that govern, or the theories that govern the nature. That is, the nature that we observe, the observable universe. Now, the observable universe is not just matter interacting with matter, it is also the psychological phenomena around us, the mental phenomena of energy, the phenomena of everything related to observable universe, even the phenomena that includes human biology. And now we have tried to understand what the laws of the universe are, and what laws of sociology, anthropology, and many other categorizations of science have put light upon. And we've also discussed about the laws of religion and how religious leaders and spiritual leaders try to shine light on certain laws, certain hidden laws in the inner realms. We have tried to integrate and synthesize these to get a mindset, to get our framework of trying to approach the laws of the universe, the laws of observable universe. So if you haven't watched that video yet, I highly recommend you first watch that one before we get into this thing called consciousness. Now, first of all, I have to admit that there are no laws of consciousness, that in the sense that there are no laws that govern consciousness. Consciousness is prior to observing or the observable universe. It is something that is like light just shining upon a dark object. Now, the source can never be found out, or the source can never be grasped, because consciousness is something that will never be an object. One of the most reliable sources that are pointing towards this thing called the higher self or consciousness are the Ashtavakra Gita, the Ripu Gita, and many other traditions, especially in Hinduism. There are some esoteric texts that point towards this higher knowledge, the knowledge that is beyond all mental activity, the knowledge of the soul. Of course, there have been a lot of rishis and sages who have described the stages that a spiritual seeker goes through when he or she is seeking this ultimate truth. And there are phases that can be pointers or can be directions for a spiritual seeker, and they can either motivate or direct a person towards moving towards a higher unified view of the universe, moving towards the knowledge of the soul, or remaining in your original natural state, that is, remaining in consciousness. Obviously, there are phases to this, and there have been many books written about the phases of experience or the phenomena that happen when you are seeking the ultimate, highest consciousness. Now, in general, it has been accepted, and it has been written in a book called God Speaks by Meher Baba, that there are 7 stages that spiritual seeker transcends. So in this video, we are going to talk about these phases. Unfortunately, there are no laws that govern consciousness, because we're transcending in a different way. So these 7 stages are what a spiritual seeker will find himself in. So the first stage will be the identification of the consciousness with the body. with the physical realm. Now, when you identify yourself with the body, you only are conscious of the things that the body is capable of doing. So you are self-conscious about your body, you are self-conscious about your face, you are self-conscious about the things that you are, about your appearances, and you base your actions upon this identification with the body. Now the second stage and the third and fourth stage are the realms of the subtle body and the mental body, where the consciousness is identified with the subtle body and the mental body. Now this is similar, and you can do the math and try to understand what happens in these phases. When identification is with the subtle body and with the mental body, how will your actions be? What will your actions be? Now, there are certain traps that happen to a person. That is, of course, a person will be able to glimpse the nature of his consciousness, the true nature, sometimes even in deep meditation. But sometimes, in order to sustain this, in order to sustain yourself in the consciousness or in the higher self, a person will have to tread a path. In this path, what happens is the impressions that the person has gathered through his physical body, through his subtle body, and through his mental body are slowly vanished. Now, here it is also important to understand that impression should not also be gathered. That is, the gathering of impressions stop, and the already impressioned mind or already impressioned bodies, the physical body and the subtle body, start to remove their impressions. They start to shed their impressions, and eventually one finds himself being in the state of consciousness in a stable manner. Now this sudden awakening can happen also, but in order to sustain and stabilize this awakening or this position of taking the identity from the false identities that we have gathered here and putting them in the self and in consciousness. Now, in my previous videos, I have talked a bit about how identities are formed, and I have showed through various examples on how we generate metaphysical desires and how we form our identities. So it will be helpful if you watch those videos before moving further. Now, once you have understood how the mind has the capability and the malleability to adapt identities, then you will be able to see how your identities grow and how far you are from your individuality. And then, when you have understood your individuality, when you have understood your purpose, and when you have made distinction between the identities that are generated and the individual identity and the self, then you are able to be as the conscious self more and more often. Now, the ultimate goal here in every spiritual tradition and the ultimate goal of all the religions is to stabilize themselves, stabilize in the consciousness. When you try to stabilize in consciousness, you will start to see the effects, the impressions that your actions have. For example, a person who lies will be able to see that his lies have an effect on his consciousness, on his individuality, and on his identity. There is a conflict inside the mind, and the consciousness is not pure, it is not clarified. Then he starts to understand the hidden laws, that is, the moral law which governs the mind. Nobody can escape conscience. And there are many other things that a person will discover about his individuality and his identity. Now, although these laws are not visible, these are obtained only when you start a path towards the higher self. And these are wisdom that can be learned from a person who is spiritually advanced. Obviously, there are no laws of consciousness, but these phases or these stages a spiritual seeker goes through are very helpful in pointing the person or the spiritual seeker towards the right path. Now, seeking or spiritual seeking is a hard journey. It is a journey where you discover things about yourself, hidden things about yourself, and discover things that you have buried years ago deep in your unconscious. You discover things from your unconscious that are so deeply unconscious that you are not even aware. You discover certain habits that you have that root from your childhood, and they have never even been looked at. You discover some things about yourself, about your lower self, about the animalistic self, about your desires. And in this discovery, you also discover fear, pain, anger, and many other detrimental emotions. So it is important for a spiritual seeker to seek a person who is spiritually advanced so that they can point out towards them, towards the path, and help them and guide them. I have certainly had many spiritual teachers who wouldn't, if it weren't for them, I would have given up this whole journey as an absurd, irrational behavior. I wouldn't even have trusted the spiritual teachers. But then, a spiritual teacher can only lead you up to a certain limit. After that, it is up to the student. It is up to his. It depends on the courage. It depends on his willpower to face his fears, to face the things that are going to come up, to be able to be willing to change things in his life, to be able to willingly give up his pride, to surrender not just to the self, to the pure blissful self, but to surrender his ego, to give up his pride for truth. So, so there have been in the book God Speaks, there are 7 stages that a person travels. Now, coming to the 4th stage, that is the critical stage of every spiritual seeker. And in this stage, a person acquires abilities, a person acquires siddhis, and is able to see things around him, able to perceive things that are in other people, and is able to manipulate things that are in this inner realm. Now he is given this power because he deserves it. But in this stage, the testing is even more high because now the nature of desires are changed. Now the desires move towards magic, towards witchcraft, towards avenging someone, and this can lead a person who is not guided to magic, to attain things in this world, to attain siddhis, to attain powers. Now, all powers and all magic are egoic. Only a person who has cultivated enough compassion can truly do things not for the sake of money or for the sake of fame for the sake of himself. Only when you have cultivated enough compassion, you are able to serve humanity. But the people in the fourth stage of consciousness are of course given a lot of power. They try to use this power for the benefit of the ego. Now, of course, there have been many instances where highly spiritually advanced people have used these powers to give a point, to give a teaching. But it is done under the direction of the highest realization. That is, only a person who has reached the highest stage, that is the seventh stage of consciousness, can come down to the fourth stage of consciousness and then do the act of magic or do the act of revelation, so that people will understand, people will believe. But the mind is always greedy. Even if a person comes down to the fourth stage, shows you a miracle, the mind will not believe it after a while. After a few weeks, the mind will crave more miracles. This will happen, and you will encounter this if you are in the fourth stage of consciousness. And then there are fifth and sixth stages in which you have transcended the fourth stage. Now in the fifth and sixth stage are the realms of what is called in Sufism the musts. These are people who are completely dissolved in love for God, that they are not even conscious of the lower stages. They are not identified with the physical body anymore. They are not identified with the mind. They are not identified with the subtle body and the energy realms. They see that things are happening around them. They see that world and its activities are going on, but they are completely dissolved in God. There is no false identity left anymore. There is no personality left anymore. And these people usually look as if they are mad. In fact, these people will be, if they are in Western countries, termed as mad, probably put in mental asylums. But then a person who goes through this comes down through a help of perfect master. And when he comes down from this unconsciousness and regains his consciousness, his normal state, then he becomes a salik, person who is perfected. Now this person is usually in the seventh stage. A person who is in the seventh stage is equal to God. He has understood the highest realization. Now a lot of people have uttered the words, I am God, I am Brahman, and Anal-Haq, and many other words. These may seem like words that are meant to be literal things. They're not really literal. They're uttered in a state of ecstasy. That is, they are uttered when they are completely identified with God. This is the highest stage of consciousness, and after realizing this, the person's is over. The purpose of life is understood. So in this video we have talked about the 7 stages of consciousness that a person traverses. Now this is based on a book called God Speaks by Meher Baba, who claims to be the avatar of this age. So be sure to read his book. to get more knowledge on this topic. And I would highly recommend this book because it gives a complete understanding on these phases of consciousness. Because people might be stuck in certain phases and don't know how to get out. So thank you for watching this video. Be sure to watch my other videos and be sure to subscribe to my channel because it helps me motivate myself to post more videos. So thank you for watching this video.